So good morning everyone. We were going to tackle about the information processing. First, let's define what is information processing. So information processing is a cognitive theoretical framework that focuses on how knowledge enters and it is stored and it is retrieved from our memory. Information processing theory refers to the way humans, computers, or systems take in information, make sense of it, store it, and use it. It involves a sequence of steps like input, processing, storage, and output. Like for example, when you see a red light, your brain processes that it means stop. It stores in your memory and tells your foot to hit the brake. The information processing theory is breakdown into three components. The first one is a type of knowledge, the second one is the stages, and the third one is the executive control processes. So cognitive psychologists believe that cognitive processes influence the nature of what is learned. Because learning isn't just about taking information, it's about how the mind processes, organize, and make sense of that information. For example, when we learn something new, we don't just memorize it like a robot. We connect it to what we already know, interpret it, and form mental models. So our attention, memory, perception, and reasoning all shape how and what we actually learn. So let's move on to the type of knowledge. So there are 5 types of knowledge. First is the general versus specific. Second is the declarative. Third is the procedural. Fourth is the episodic. And last is the conditional. So first, let's define what is the general knowledge. So the general knowledge is a broad, widely applicable knowledge, while the specific knowledge is detailed, context-dependent knowledge. So let's proceed to the second type of knowledge, which is the declarative. The declarative knowledge, this refers to a factual knowledge. They relate to the nature of how things are. They may be in form of a word or an image. So the declarative knowledge is knowing what fact and information. So this focuses on the information that have evidences or the information that is factual, or you already know the information that is factual. Next type of knowledge is the procedural. The procedural type of knowledge is a type of knowledge on how to do the things. Like for example, you're going to make a cupcake and you don't know how to make it. So the procedural knowledge, it is a type of knowledge that naadid to ang mga process or step-by-step procedures on how to make your cupcake perfectly. And the next type of knowledge is the episodic. So the episodic type of knowledge, this includes memories of life events like your high school graduation. Like for example, this is your memories on your high school graduation or your first day of class that is really memorable to you, that you cannot forget. The last type of knowledge is the conditional. Conditional, this is about knowing when and why to apply declarative or procedural strategies. Imagine, you know how to use an umbrella. That is already a procedural knowledge. And you know the rain can make you wet. That is already a declarative knowledge. But conditional knowledge is, if it is raining, then I should use an umbrella. It connects what you know to when and why to use it. So now, we will be moving on to the stages in the information processing theory. The stage of IPT involves the functioning of the senses, sensory register, short-term memory, and the long-term memory. Basically, IPT asserts three primary stages, which are the encoding, storage, and retrieval. So, let's define the three stages. First is the encoding. So, encoding, information is sensed, perceived, and attended to. Next, the storage is information is stored for either a brief or extended period of time depending upon the focuses, depending upon the process following encoding. And last is the retrieval. The retrieval, information is brought back at appropriate time and reactivated to use an current task, the true measure of effective memory. Encoding, this is like when you're going to taking a photo with your brain. Like for example, when you study a fast test, your brain takes in the information. So, another example for this is you're listening to the teacher nga nag-lecture siya. The information that you've learned, that is already an encoding. You already stored it in your memory. That is encoding. The knowledge that you have taken to your teacher. Next is the storage. When you say storage, this is like saving a photo in an album. Ganina, you're taking a photo. Karon, you're like saving the photo in your album. Like for example, ang storage is nakaputra siya sa imo ang mind. The lesson that you have learned is naara sa imo ang mind. That is already storage. That is storage. Imong gi-input ang knowledge nga imong naibaw-an sa imong mind. And last is the retrieval. Ang retrieval is kana i-retrieve nimo or imong ipagawas imong knowledge nga na-learn in the specific time or in a specific situation. So that retrieval is like opening the album to look at the photo. So, ganina, sa encoding is like you're going to, sa encoding, you're taking a picture. And the storage is you're saving the photo in your album. Third, the retrieval is like you're opening the photo you're opening the album to look for a photo. Another example for that is the retrieval is it is a knowledge. You're going to use the knowledge that you have learned, or like for example katong example na kanina about sa encoding, that you're going to use the knowledge that you have learned to your teacher. That is retrieval. And next is the sensory register. What is sensory register? So sensory register is the first stage of your memory. It's like your brain is a waiting room for information coming from your senses like sight, sound, touch, or etc. So, the continuation of my report will be discussed by Jeffrey Gonzaga.
Okay, the role of attention is to bring information to conciseness. It is necessary that we give attention to it, such that we can only perceive and remember and reproduce things that pass through our attention, like gate. So, getting to this attention, Further is one when the learner is threatened. In the material, when there is conscious control over attention or when information involves a novelty, surprise, silence, and distinctiveness. So, before information is perceived, it is also as a practicorial information. The second one, there are two types of information, which is the short-term memory and the long-term memory. Which the short-term memory has the capacity. It is to reduce the loss of information in 80 seconds, and you need to do maintenance revision. Like for example, you need to read every day e-books to know what is it. While the long-term memory, it is the final permanent storage. It holds store information until needed again. So it has a capacity. It has a all-in capacity. So there are more. Forgetting is the inability to retrieve or access information we needed. There are two main ways in which forgetting like occurs: decay and interference. Information is not attended to and eventually fades away. That is decay. Interference, it is a new or old information to black access and information and questions. There are many types of method for increasing retrieval information, which is the rehearsal, meaning learning, organization, elaboration, visual imagery, generation, context, and personalization, which is it can improve your memory, it can improve your capacity in learning. The last one, other methods of memory, which is the serial position effect, recency and primacy, part learning, distributed praxis, and mnemonic aids, which it can enhance your memory, it can enhance your capacity of your learning. So that's it. Thank you for watching.